Hi, welcome to AWS CloudFormation course. Before we start, let's have a look into the overview of this course. To start this course, there are some specific prerequisites. The first of it is, as this course is on AWS CloudFormation, which automates tasks that could be done by other AWS tools. So a learner must have at least EC2 knowledge. A learner should have a basic level of understanding on AWS EC2, and this course also assumes that someone can open an account using AWS and have a computer and internet connection, because this course does not cover how to open an AWS account. So let's have a look into what we are going to learn in this course. The first learning outcome is to understand what is CloudFormation, and then we'll also discuss about the CloudFormation stack and how we can automate tasks using CloudFormation, as the CloudFormation is all about automating tasks that we can do by using other tools that might take a long time, but using CloudFormation, we can just define some steps, as we will see later on, and we can get things done very quickly. So this is one of the learning outcomes, and also we'll discuss about CloudFormation template, which is at this moment we can say that this is a file where we put all the instructions of when things are automatically being done, what needs to be done. That's the information that we put in a file that's called CloudFormation template, and details we'll see later on in the lecture that covers this topic. And also we will discuss about CloudFormation Designer, how we can visually design an infrastructure and tell CloudFormation that this is my design and this is what I want, and automatically deploying that infrastructure by using CloudFormation. So these are the major topics that we'll be touching in this course. This is a beginner level course, which will help you to get a fair level of understanding what CloudFormation is, and to gain further skills on CloudFormation, I believe self-directed learning should suffice. So let's get started. Thank you. Hi, in this video we will discuss about AWS CloudFormation. This is an introductory video to give an overall idea of what CloudFormation is. So let's have an introduction to CloudFormation. Before we start, let's discuss something else, an example, that a scenario that you want to build a house and you want to do it by yourself, sort of DIY stuff. So what you need to do? Well, a lot of things. Just some example: you need to purchase all materials, you need to build the house, the construction, and as part of that you need to do plumbing, electrical installation, and water sort of things, and many more things, paperwork, and probably before doing that you will purchase the land and so on. Now, if you want to build the house by yourself, it is of course it's fun, but it might be a hassle. Now, if you could tell someone that you need a house and all the specifications and they do it for you, then you could have a feeling that you have actually automated building the house. Now, let's assume that you have some robots. They're very smart. human-like robots, let's say, and you just tell the robots that you need a house, and you give them all the instructions on how the house will look like, what would be the design, what kind of resources they should use, what kind of materials they should use, let's say the quality of the material that would be used to build the house, and so on. So you just specify everything, and you give the instruction. Let's say you have written the instruction in a paper, and you gave it to the robots, or you just give the instruction by recording an audio or video, and they are doing everything. They are building the house based on your instruction, and you feel that you have just automated the task of building the house, because you just give the instruction and the house is being built by someone else. And this is exactly what CloudFormation does for us. So CloudFormation is just like your robots in the example that we have just seen. You tell CloudFormation what you need, and it does those things for you. So instead of you do a lot of things, you configure a server, or you build a website, or use some resources to provision an application on the cloud, you just tell that, hey, I need this, and this is how I want to implement that application. Can you do that for me? You ask CloudFormation, and CloudFormation does that for you. So if we want to come with a more formal definition of CloudFormation, then we can say that it is a service of AWS that takes care of provisioning and configuring resources and services, and eventually it eliminates the requirement to do those things manually, which is automating the manual steps. So the way you give instructions to your team of robots to build a house is exactly the way you work with CloudFormation. So you write instructions and tell CloudFormation that, okay, these are the things that I want to achieve. Can you do that for me, please? And the file where you write all those things, of course, it has its own standard, it has its own syntax, own grammar. We'll look into how to write instruction for CloudFormation in some other tutorial, in some other video. For the time being, it is enough for us to know that those are called templates. So the template has its own syntax, grammar. There are specific ways to write template that we'll see in some other video tutorial. So what you do, you write the template and you give it to CloudFormation. In other words, in template file, you give the instructional list of the things that you want CloudFormation to do for you, so that you don't have to bother, you don't have to spend your time doing all these things. So let's look at an example. You want to have a virtual machine, virtual server, where you want to install a web server, and in that web server you want to put a website so that that website can be accessed by people from all over the world. At the same time, for your virtual machine, for your website, you want to ensure security and user accounts. And now you have two ways to do that. The first one is you can do it manually, which is create or launch an instance in EC2, let's say, install the web server on your launched instance, then put the website contents into the correct folder in the web server, configure everything, as part of your launching the instance, you configure the security group, security policy, you probably going to create users, and so on. So there might be a lot more to the list than I have just mentioned. So this is one way, and the other way could be you just write an instruction in a file, which is a CloudFormation template, and you give it to CloudFormation, and you tell CloudFormation that, hey, CloudFormation, can you please do all these things for me? I want a virtual machine, virtual server, I want a web server installed in that virtual machine, and then I want to put this website there, and all these parameters, all these kind of security issues and everything that you mentioned here. And you just give the file, instruction file or template to CloudFormation, and you just sit back, relax, probably have a cup of coffee and see it is being done. So you feel that you have automated a lot of tasks, and we'll see later on that CloudFormation has a lot of advantages. One of the biggest advantages is when you automate tasks by giving the template to CloudFormation, you eliminate the possibility of human errors. Because when you want to do all these things manually, as we see in number 1, we might, due to human limitations, human factors, we might make some errors, probably a configuration error or some parameter we might enter. By mistake, we might enter wrong parameter, and eventually we might find that the things are not working the way it should. But if we can write the template and give it to CloudFormation, and CloudFormation will not make any mistakes. So in a nutshell, that is CloudFormation. CloudFormation is one of the Amazon services, cloud services, where you give instruction as in the form of template, where you say the list of things that you want to achieve, and CloudFormation does those things for you, giving you the feeling that the things are being done automatically. So that's how CloudFormation makes your life easier. Thank you. Hi. In this video, we'll see what is CloudFormation stack. So to begin with, we look into an example that we want to launch an instance, or we want to have a virtual machine, and we want to install a web server on that virtual machine, and then we'll put a website in that web server in the proper folder, and we will have some associated policy, which might be users, security, and so on. So all these things we can automate by using CloudFormation that we discussed earlier. For that, we write an instruction file, which we call template in CloudFormation. That is called template file, where we just write the instruction that, hey, CloudFormation, we need this, and that. And we give it to CloudFormation, and CloudFormation follows the instruction, and it does the whole thing for us, sort of automating the task that we want to do instead of carrying out all the tasks and all the configuration manually. So all the things that we want, that we put in a template file, all the resources and services. Resources means the virtual server, the web server, the website file, the files related to the website that we want to launch, for example, and all the services or the policies. Everything is considered by AWS CloudFormation as one stack. So one single unit that is called a stack, and it is a placeholder. We can think of it as a placeholder where the defined things that we have defined, whatever we have defined in the template, deployed in one stack or in one confined area. So let's have an illustration to understand how a stack might look like. So this is our template file where we have written the instructions and gave it to CloudFormation. So CloudFormation, we can store that template on Bucket. We'll see what is Bucket in some other tutorial videos. For the time being, we can say that we can assume that, okay, we are going to store it somewhere in the cloud on AWS. Now, from the stored template, and because in this template we gave instruction that we are going to have a virtual machine. On that virtual machine, we will have a web server, and in that web server we will have let's say some web pages or one web page, and for all those things we have some associated policies. And so this whole collection that is deployed, because before we come to this point when we were here, it was just a template file, but now things are being actualized. So we actually have the different things and resources and policies, services that we defined in the template file. So all these things that are actualized, that are deployed from a template file, is thought of being in a confined area, which is known as stack. So this is a conceptual separation from one template to another template, which makes things to manage, and for other purposes it makes things easier. And of course all the stacks that we have are attached to the template, because the template is the basis to make to develop or to deploy resources as one combined unit, which AWS calls a stack. So to sum up, a stack is the area, we can say a room where all the resources and everything that is deployed due to following the instruction in a template, they are thought of as a single unit, and that single unit is known as a stack in AWS. Thank you. Hi. In this video, we'll see how we can use Amazon CloudFormation service to automate server and service deployment. So to start with, we click on services and we click on CloudFormation. In CloudFormation, we will create a new stack, and we don't have any stack at this moment, as you can see on the screen. By creating a stack, we will tell AWS that we want to create a sample WordPress website, and for that we need a virtual machine or an instance, and the software that we need, and everything that we need. We have seen in previous tutorials that we need to separately launch EC2 instances, and we need to install web server, and we need to create a key pair, and everything we needed to do manually. Here, by using CloudFormation and creating a stack, we can tell AWS by using a template that we want to create this service and we want to use these resources. For example, we want to create a WordPress website, and the resources that we need: a key pair, we need a virtual machine or virtual server, we need everything that we need. We can just tell AWS that this is what we need, and AWS will automate that task for us. So for that, first we click on create new stack, and here we start the wizard of creating the stack. So here we have different options. In this tutorial, we'll use existing template from AWS. So if we look here, select a template, sample template, we can select from drop down list. There are different templates. I'll come back to this after a while. And we can also upload a template. If we have created our own template, we can upload, or we can specify an Amazon S3 template URL to point to the template. We will discuss in detail about templates in some other tutorial. For the time being, a template is that file, the text file, where we give specific instructions, where we just simply tell AWS that, okay, this is what we want, These are the resources that we want and some other parameters. So we give here, instead of creating an instance, instead of installing web server, we just tell AWS that we want to create an instance, we want to install a web server, we want to use these resources, and we want to achieve that. And we just give the instruction, and the whole thing is automatically taken care of by AWS. So let's see how it does. So once again, for the time being, we understand template is the instruction file where we tell what AWS should do for us instead of doing it by ourselves, instead of doing it manually. So let's select an existing template from here. Let's say we are looking for a single instance and we want to create a WordPress blog. Now, as you can see that the moment I selected this template, the URL automatically populated here. One thing we must be careful when we manually input any URL, if we were specifying any URL here, that this URL should must be in the region where you are working. At this moment I'm working Asia Pacific Southeast region 2, and if you look carefully, that AWS automatically selected the template from the same region. It must be in the same region, as you can see here and here. If they do not match, then it will yield an error and you won't be able to create this tag. However, so we selected the WordPress blog. That's what we want to create, and I will click on next. Now we have 4 steps here, if you follow my cursor, and we are on the second step, specify detail. Is tag name, let's say test WordPress stack. You can give any name, but it's always better to give a useful name. So DB password, I'll give some password. Let me keep that password secret. You need to choose your own password. And I gave the root password, and you can see the description here that the database name was populated by I'll keep the default one. I supplied the DB root password and DB password, database password, and now I need to select the username. Let's keep it as you cannot see here, but I gave the username as user, USER. And instance type, okay, let me choose T2 micro. It's up to you, depending on your requirement. You can choose T2 micro is the one I'm choosing. And key name, you need to have existing key pair that we have seen in some earlier tutorials, how to create key pair. And you will see that for this region, this is the key pair that we have, which is automatically came in the drop down list. So I'm selecting my key pair, and I'll keep it as a default setting because I want to access it from anywhere. And now I'll click next. We can create tags here for our own convenience. It is not necessary to create, but the way we created tags in EC2 instances, we can create here. So we can probably say that stack WP, for example, or maybe you can say chest stack. IAM role, we will leave it for the time being, and in the tutorials where we cover IAM, we will see in detail what is IAM. But for the time being, we will leave this as this is optional, and we won't worry much about IAM. We'll learn about IAM in relevant tutorials. Rollback triggers and everything I'll keep as default. As we learn more and more, we can come back to see the advanced options, but for the time being I will just leave them. I'll click next, and here you see the review of the templates and everything. You can also estimate the cost, and after reviewing, if everything is fine, if we're happy with all the settings that we have created, which is okay for me, I'll just click create. And now here we see it is not empty anymore on the CloudFormation dashboard. This is my stack, and as you can see, the creation is in progress. It will take some time to have the stack created. We'll see from this status. So while the creation is in progress, let's look into some of these tabs. As you can see here, the status, the creation is in progress. And if we go on overview, we can see an overview, what the name of the stack is, and other descriptions, as we didn't, those optional parameters that we did not specify coming as blank. Outputs is not available yet, but later on we'll see that here we'll have the link to our WordPress website that we're creating by using the template. Resources, in this stack we are creating a WordPress website, and for that we need the resources. And we have seen in our EC2 tutorial that we when we create an instance, we mention or we specify the security group. We have seen that we used key pair. We mentioned that key pair, and here you will see all the resources that we will use for this stack. In this case, the creation of a web server security group, the security group is complete, and the web server instance creation is in progress, and this is what is, you see the instance ID. And events is where we can see what is going on while the stack is being created. And by now, as you can see, the status has been changed, that create complete. If for some reason it could not be completed, then we would get some other status. It would show an failed status. So here you can see the date when I'm creating the stack, at the time, my time zone, and the creation complete or failed. In this case, we don't have any failed status, so you can see from events tab. Now this tab is something that we said we will learn in some other tutorial, but for the time being, template, this is the file where we instructed AWS that okay, these are the things that we need, and do it automatically. We don't want to do it manually. So here, for example, we have parameters where we needed a key, and also in this template, in this file, we have what type of instance we need, and SSH location, for example, how we are going to access, and WordPress database and user and so on. So all the resources we need, all the parameters that we would require to create this stack for the WordPress blog site, and the resources that we will be using, everything that we specify here. And for the time being, that should suffice for us to talk about templates. So we won't worry much at this moment for the time being, as we have seen that, and we're discussing that template is the source file where we have the instructions from instances, from resources to parameters, security groups, everything that we needed to create the stack. And these are the instructions that we use and tell AWS that, hey, these are what we need. Please create all this automatically. And here the parameters, if you as you have seen in our previous step where we have mentioned some parameters like database name, your password, database username, and other parameters you can see here. Tags, we created that tag, so you can see everything here, and all the details about the stack we have just created. And as we used this template, the ready-made template, we can say, and when we fully learn AWS and CloudFormation, we will be able to modify existing template, or we can create our own template. However, if I go on the overview, and as we have seen, it gives us a quick summary, and at this point, as that stack is created, this is the tab is important for us for the time being. Here we have the URL for the services and resources that we have created by creating this stack. So we used a template where we said we need a WordPress blog website. Do everything that you need to create that blog. Now this is in output. We have our external link. Let me click on that link. So once we click on that link, we see that the WordPress installation will start, and obviously this has nothing to do with AWS. This is all about WordPress. You need to know WordPress and how to configure it to create a WordPress website. So for the timing, let's say that the site title I'm going to give, let's say, my supercomputer. Okay. Username, let me keep it as user, and password once again. Let's say this is the password I'm giving, and it is a strong password. I can hide or I can see. So you know the secret. I gave the password, and here you need to specify an email address, and in this case I can use my email address. And since this is a test site, we can discourage search engines from indexing this site, so that's fine. And now we can click on install WordPress. So the WordPress has been installed. We can now log in. So I will give the username and I will give the password that I have selected. I will log in, and this is my admin dashboard. So we have installed WordPress. Now I will not do anything much here. If you know WordPress, you can just administer your site and you can do whatever you want with your WordPress. I will just log out from here and I'll close this. So we have installed WordPress. Now let me click on this link for the WordPress blog site that we created by using this tag once again. Now you will see the website. If you can remember, I gave just the title, my supercomputer. So this is this is how by using a stack we can create different sort of services. Here I have created just a simple WordPress blog site. Now it's time for us to clean up this stack, because this is for educational purpose, so I don't need to keep this. And if we don't need to keep any resources, it is always better to clean up to ensure that it does not cost any incur any unexpected cost. So as the last step of this tutorial, I will clean up this stack, which is simple. I'll click on actions and just delete a stack. It will ask for a confirmation. I'll click on yes, delete, and as you can see, the status has been changed. Delete in progress. And once the deletion process is done, you will see, since I don't have any more stack, this is the only stack I had, so it will take me back to the screen where it will show that there is no stack, and it will ask us to create a new stack. So we'll go back to the screen where we started this tutorial, and it takes some time to delete the stack, and you can, again, by clicking on events, you can monitor the progress. So once it has been deleted, we will go back to the initial screen where we started creating a stack in this video tutorial. So now after a while, as you can see that I had just one stack, so now it's showing there is no stack on my CloudFormation dashboard. So that is how we can create a stack and we can create services. Just to show you quickly before we end this tutorial, I'm clicking on create new stack, select a sample template. You have different kind of template: LAMP stack, Ruby on Rails stack, WordPress blog, the one that we used in this tutorial, and also you have some other stacks. You learn more about different templates or different services as you keep going with the tutorials, and there are a lot of templates available on Amazon or AWS website. You can use and modify them, and you can also upload them. So that is how we use CloudFormation to automate tasks. And by automating the task by creating a stack, life becomes easier. Thank you. Hi, in this video we'll talk about CloudFormation template. We'll look into templates to get an idea on how a template looks like. So let's get started. As we discussed earlier in some earlier videos, that a declaration or instruction to deploy resources, to deploy stack on AWS is called a CloudFormation template, and it can be written in JSON or YAML. So to learn templates and to write your own template, you need to learn either JSON or YAML, which is outside of the scope of this course. However, it is not a hard one. You can easily learn JSON or YAML, and these files you can create by using any text editor. I personally prefer any simple text editors like Notepad, which do not have a lot of formatting options. And it's, as I said, that it's very easy to learn JSON or YAML, and you need to learn them, either of them. You don't necessarily need both of them to be able to write templates, and you can also edit any existing templates. So in this course, wherever we have any example of templates, we will use the JSON syntax. But at this point, with this video tutorial, even if you don't know, or even if you don't have any idea about JSON or YAML, should not be a problem to follow. And a template is saved as simple text file. Normally it has either of these four extensions: .json or .yaml or .template or .txt. At this point, probably we should have an upfront note that a bucket on AWS is a storage space created in the same region where the stack is created. So let's look into how it looks like a template. It's as I said, that it's very easy to understand. It's very easy to learn JSON, and even if we don't know JSON, it should not be a big deal for us to understand what is going on what we are talking about. If you look carefully, this is the standard template that you need to follow, and I won't be much technical here, but if you have a programming background, if you know a bit of programming, then you know that this is one block. So from here and from here is one block, and within this block we have sub blocks. This block starts here and ends here, and this block starts here and ends here. So this block belongs to this part, and hello bucket, and the hello bucket and everything all together. This part belongs to the resources block, and they all together makes the whole document. So if you look carefully, you'll see this is the reserved keyword for AWS, which is resources, and it means that we are declaring a resource. We give the name hello bucket. It is our own defined name, let's say, and the type is an AWS S3 bucket. So to write a template, we need to know what are the standard keywords. This you cannot make any exception. If you want to have an AWS S3 bucket, you have to write in this way. So what types are available there? And we say resources. What else could go there in a template? This is what you can learn in detail from AWS website, the best place for any resources on any AWS services. And if you go to the AWS website and look for CloudFormation user guide, you will find a detailed explanation on CloudFormation, which includes the detailed discussion on the templates as well. So this is a very simple view of a template where we are asking the CloudFormation to allocate a resource, which is bucket, and we are giving the name hello bucket. So let's see a bit more complex one here. So we have here another example. So here we see that the resource, so we have our resource called hello bucket, and we said the type is an AWS S3 bucket. It might have some other properties as well that we can define. So here you see properties, you see access control is a public read, and website configuration. What is the configuration? The index document by default should be this page. If you're into website development, you know that. And if there is any error, so it will display this page. So the main point here is that you declared a resource. You gave the name of the resource, what type it is you're saying, and also you can specify properties. There's a lot more to the story, as I said, that you need to refer to the whole user guide for the reference manual that you can find on AWS website. So this is a bit more elaborated version of the previous one. Now let's look into another example to understand a bit further on template. So here we have another template file. If you are familiar with the EC2 that we have in some other video tutorials, we know that we need a key pair, we need to configure security group, and we need to specify the ports, the services that we need. So if you look carefully in this template, you see that in the resources, we are creating one EC2 instance, and we're saying type and properties. And here, if you look, we have a new thing which is called reference instances security group. And if you look further elsewhere in the document, you will find instance security group. So instance security group has block up to this point. If you look carefully, you can find out that the innermost is this, and this one paired with this one paired with this one, and this one is paired with this one. So this is the block which defines what is the security group. And if you see that in the security group, you have a description which describes what this is all about. It's enabling SSH port access via port 22, and what protocol is being used. And we see that the security group ingress means the incoming traffic to the web server is through port 22. And if we, as we have seen in EC2 tutorial, that by this CIDR IP, we mean we want to access it from anywhere, open access. So this is the security group that we are referring here. So the moment we refer here, this reference looks for this security group, the same name, and understands that by this security group we are referring to this one. So the reason we can write like this is if you can write this block, so that, let's say for example, if you have a very big template file with 500 lines of code, you can have when you master on this templates, you'll see that the templates could be really big, really long one. So you might need to use the same security group in a lot of places, in different places. So you just create once and you just simply refer them as in when and wherever you want to use it. However, if we come back to this next key name, so you give the key name and other properties. So this is another a bit more elaborated version of a template file. So here the new thing that we saw is the reference. Let's see another example. So here we have another example, further explanation on the parameters. So now here you see that if you use the template for one specific region, then you can sort of fix the key name. But if you want to use the template in different locations, then the key pair will be different. In that case, what you do, you declare parameters. Parameters in a non-technical way, if we say, in here we define the things that we want to take input from the users. So instead of hard coding the key, by defining parameters like this, what we are achieving here, that when we run this template will ask the user to enter the key name, the key pair value, because this is the key name is, we are giving a reference to the key name, which is a parameter. So on the screen, the users, whoever is configuring, whoever is running the template, will see that when there's the resources are being deployed, AWS is asking for this parameter, which is key name in this case. So that is why we use parameters. And if we keep moving on, we look into another example, which again just a bit elaboration of previous one. Here the only difference is that you have parameters, key name, so, and you also have a parameter for what, let's say if it is for a WordPress website, it's a WordPress user, you can give a default value and you can give other specifications, as you can see that what type of input it is, and what will be maximum and minimum length, what pattern you are going to allow. You can also have define the web server port, which port is the default, and what could be the minimum value of the port and maximum value of the port, and so on. This is just for your just to give you an idea that how a template is created. This is I would say beginning of the story when it comes to templates, not the all of the story. It's just an abstract of what a CloudFormation template is. So to conclude, these points are very important. We need to keep in mind that we discussed just the very basics of CloudFormation templates, which will help you to understand the templates. If you look into some templates on AWS, now you will understand that what is written, and it's very important to note that if you want to become a guru or a solution developer on AWS, you need to learn template in depth. And we see just at the introduction level of the templates up here, because learning templates in detail is sort of out of the scope for this course. However, as I discussed earlier, that the best place to find the fully explained and total reference is the AWS website. If you go there and search for CloudFormation user guide, you will find everything about CloudFormation and everything about templates. Also, for any other web service, it's AWS service, not just CloudFormation. The best resource you can find is on the AWS website. Just search for developer guide or user guide. You should be able to find, for example, you can search for EC2 user guide. In the same way, you can search for CloudFormation user guide. However, so the concluding note is that we have seen just the very basics of template to understand what goes on and how a template looks like. And this is a topic that you cannot avoid if you want to become a guru. And the best resources you can find on AWS website. Thank you. Hi, in this video we'll talk about CloudFormation Designer. So let's get started. From AWS console, from the home screen, we'll click on services and we'll go to CloudFormation, and here we can design our template. We can write any template using JSON or YAML and save them in text files, or alternatively we can AWS has the provision where we can graphically visually design what we need and the template will be automatically created, and that is the whole purpose of a design template. A very nice tool provided by AWS. So let's see how it works. So I am clicking on design template. Now let's say that we want to deploy web server, just a basic one, and how we can do that. So once we click on the template designer, you will see this is screen, different parts here. Here is the resource type, and this is where you will see your template that will be auto-generated, and you can switch from JSON to YAML. For example, if you look here, this is in JSON template. If I click here, it automatically switches to its YAML version. We'll be using JSON for this video. And here you see the updates messages, and this is the working area where we'll work with different elements that we need in a template. And let's see how we use these different parts of the screen of the designer as we keep going. Before I start, you might be interested to see that we can start a new template. We can open an existing template, we can save, or we can use sample templates and some other icons as you will go over them. The tooltip, for example, this one is pretty much a self-explanatory. For example, this one says when we have a diagram here, then this helps us to download the diagram as an image, and you can maximize or minimize this pane, but I'll just keep it like this. So this template, its name is new.template by default, but I want to change the name of this template. So I click on template here, I click on this icon. Let's say I want to name this as web server .template. So .template, I type the name web server and I press enter. Now here you see that it has been changed. Now this tutorial is about CloudFormation template designer, not about all the elements that you can use in the as part of AWS. That's the list is huge, and that's why as our main purpose is to know how to work with template designer. We won't go into much detail of what resource has what meaning, what is the purpose, that we'll see in the relevant tutorials. So for example, let's say so to keep going, let's say we want to deploy a web server. So we are creating a template and we are visually creating a template. So from the left resource pane, we select EC2, and here it has the available resources under EC2. We will select VPC, virtual private cloud. So I just drag and drop it here. We need a number of elements here, as you'll see as you keep going. So I just increase its size so that it can accommodate everything that we need. So this VPC probably not a very good name here, as you can see. So we can actually, by using my mouse scrolling button and just dragging and dropping, I can change them. I want to change this name because you see this is an AWS2. When I hover over the resource, you can see now that it's AWS EC2 VPC and its name is EC2 VPC something, but we'll change it to something that we can remember. So let me right click on this, and I have this menu, and this menu shows the link to relevant documentation. I can delete this one. I can duplicate if I want. If I need more than one element, I can just duplicate by clicking this. In this case, this is the icon that we are interested in, edit properties. Here you see that as soon as I selected this, in the template, you see under resources, this resource has been created. If you compare this name, and here you see that the name, you will see that this is what automatically created. But the name is not very user-friendly, very friendly for us to remember. So what we'll do, we'll change the name here. Let's say we'll just delete the name and we'll give the name VPC. And the designer is out of date. It says we need to hit refresh because we have changed the name. So I am clicking refresh. Now if I go here, you will see that the name has been changed to VPC because we changed the name here. Okay, so what we're going to add in this virtual private cloud is one subnet. So added a subnet by dragging and dropping, just increasing a bit more because I know based on my plan I'm going to have an EC2 instance here as well. So once again, in the same way, let me change the name of this as here we have subnet out of date, so refreshed. Now you see its name is subnet. I'm going to keep an instance here, a virtual server here, instance. From left pane, drag and drop. This is the instance. So the instance is selected here, the instance. I want to change its name as web server. Let's say web server. Of course, I need to refresh as we have seen before. So this is the web server. Also, as part of, so I think I can minimize this a bit. Yes, I don't need anything else here. Now, what I need is, a security group for my web server. So I will drag and drop the security group here. Just making it nice. It really doesn't matter whether you put it here or here. I'm just putting it here just to make it look good. So this is the security group. I am going to change the name to web server security group. Web server security group. So you might have a question in your mind that, do I need to change the name? No, you don't, but the default names are not very human friendly. It's hard to remember, so we will always try to give names that make sense to us and that's easy to remember. So refreshing, and I have the latest version here. And also I am going to add a routing table here. Let me expand it a bit, and I'm going to, this is the route table. I'm going to change it as web server route table. Refreshing to update the design, and within the routing table, we're going to drag and drop a routing a resource route. And once again, this one is automatically selected here. I'm going to change this resource name to web server route. It makes more sense to us. And another thing that I need to implement a basic web server is the internet gateway. So they are sorted alphabetically, so I can go on internet. Here we go. This is internet gateway. So this is the internet gateway. I am going to give it this internet gateway, so I'm going to give its name as web server internet gateway. Just use any name that makes sense to you. I'm just giving the name that is convenient for me to remember. So I'll refresh. Now here you see that it's web server internet gateway. This one is web server security group. This one is web server route. This one is web server route table. This one is web server, and this one is subnet, and this one is VPC. Now what we'll do is we will connect these resources. We have dragged and dropped the resources. Now it's time for us to connect those resources. And so for this implementation, I'll just zoom a bit, probably a bit less. So now what we're going to do, so this is the VPC we have. We have the VPC web server subnet instance routing table and route, the internet gateway. You need an internet gateway to connect to and from outside world from your virtual private cloud. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this VPC with the internet gateway. So if we, I'll just drag it a bit here. If we take our mouse cursor over here, we'll see that the name is VPC gateway attachment. I'll just drag and drop this connection here. You see, the moment I have started dragging, the VPC is highlighted, which means this internet gateway can be connected to this VPC. So I'm connecting this, and then we are going to connect the routing table, the route to the internet gateway by using the gateway ID. So let's have a look here. You see this, if they have different they're for different purposes. If I click go on this one, I see that this is for the gateway ID, so it is for the internet gateway. So I should drag and drop this connection to the, you see the gateway is automatically highlighted when I started dragging. So I connected this route, and also the route depends on gateway. So I click the depends on, or once again I click the depends on, and I connect it with the gateway. Depends on, drag and drop, just connect it. And then we also have instance. Instance will depend on route, because instance, the web server needs the route to have traffic, incoming and outgoing traffic. So depends on, let's find the depends on, the one which is depends on. We will discuss about the rest later on. So here is the depends on. It depends on the route, so I'll drag and drop. Here you see this is highlighted, so I'll just connect, and then I will connect the route table with the subnet, because they have a dependency. And if we don't create the proper dependency, our stack will not work, because this is the template that we're creating, visually creating the template that we will use later on to create a stack. So the The routing table is also depending on the subnet. So what we'll do is we will go for the depends on, and then we'll connect it to the subnet. So that's how we use Designer, CloudFormation Designer, to design a template. And as you keep going, your template gets changed. You can just switch from JSON to YAML, just like this. Just clicking, it's as simple as that. And also you need to save your template. You can save it locally, or you can save it on the Amazon storage. So saving locally is just as simple as saving any file. So let's see how we can save it. So if I click here, save, then it gives me the option whether I want to save it as a local file or as Amazon S3 in S3 bucket. So let's me save it locally. I'll click on local file and I'll save it as a web server.template. I'll hit save, and it is asking you, so I'll say yes, I want to save it, and it is normally saved in the download folder. If I open my download folder, just change the views for better viewing. So you see that I have the web server.template is stored here. And also by using a single click of this button, we can export this diagram as an image. So let me just show you very quickly. Download diagram as an image, just clicking on that. Save file, clicking on save, going back to my downloads folder, and here you see as PNG format, the diagram has been saved. So that's how we work with CloudFormation Designer. We have saved the template that we're going to use it later on. In this, by now we have seen how we can add the resources and connect to them, and we also need to add the parameters. And if we need to, we need to also add mapping. So before we can create a stack, because just providing resources and connecting is not enough to create a stack. We need to also design the specify the parameters. So by now we have seen how we can graphically design a template and have the resources and connect them, rename them. We have also seen the template which automatically generated, that we can quickly switch between JSON and YAML, and we have also seen how we can save the file so that we can use later on. So, however, we have saved it locally. So we'll see how we can add properties and other required things in this stack in next tutorial video. Thank you. Hi, this video is about CloudFormation Template Designer. This is part 2 of this on this topic on Template Designer. We will see a few bits and pieces in this video that we left out of the first video. So for this, we need to go to CloudFormation. By clicking, I clicked on services and then CloudFormation, and we go to design template. We previously created a template and visually created a template where we added resources and saved it. So instead of creating a new template now, we will load that one. So we'll open from this icon, we hit on open, and we saved locally in my download folder, which is here, web server template. So I'll just select that one and open that file, and you see the file that we created in previous tutorial video is here. So now to complete this stack, we need to add properties, and if we want, we can add some optional components. So how we can do that? So if I click on the canvas, any area here, you see template and components. So this is the template. Here you can add any properties to any resources that we have. On the other hand, if I click on any specific component, let's say I click on VPC. In this VPC, I can, after selecting VPC or any specific component, let's say any specific component regardless, I can change the properties of that resource accordingly. And for example, we can add some parameters that we have seen in our introductory video on CloudFormation. Whatever we want to do, we can add the code here. And one thing to note, that if we click on this open space, then our template and components, it becomes the template white. On the other hand, when we click on any specific resource, then it becomes the properties becomes that resource specific. And once we mention all our required properties and mapping whatever we need, if we have, then once we are ready, we can click on this button which says create a stack. And before that, we always we will keep this check, because it validates the template, checks for syntactical and any kind of anomalies. If there is, then it will give you an error that we have seen previously. So if you when you give the properties that you need, and based on that properties, you will be able to create the stack just by clicking on this button. And as this tutorial was mainly to show you how to work with CloudFormation Template Designer, we'll not go into details of what kind of properties we might need. It depends on the scenario. Here we wanted to just show a basic web server. If we wanted to design a template, there's a lot more to add, for example, to properties and other stuffs. But however, I'll keep it out of the scope of this video tutorial. But once again, as I mentioned in some other tutorials, that the best resource for AWS is the AWS website itself. So and you need to know in depth about templates to become a guru on AWS. So let me quickly show you where you can find the documentation for templates or for anything, any other AWS services. If you go to the AWS website, if you click on menu, and then if you go on documentation, okay, here one thing is in services. If I click on services, as you can see that CloudFormation is under management tools. So we need to go to the documentation, and we need to go to the management tools. Now here we have CloudFormation, so we are on the documentation side. We're going to the documentation. As you can see, management tool. From documentation, I came to the management tools, and then I went to the CloudFormation, and I'm clicking on that. Now we have the documentation here. Let's say user guide. So if I click on PDF, it might take some time for the PDF to load, and then we'll have everything about CloudFormation. So while that the PDF is being loaded, we can just have a quick look just to give you that's a quick overview. That from left pane you have the resources. Here you can see all the template related things, condition and metadata and other things. You can manually add properties. When you click on the canvas, it becomes the template white, and when you click on a specific resource, it automatically changes to that resource's specific specifications. So for example, you can add properties and everything, and also you can just quickly switch between JSON and YAML version, as you can see. And so let us go back to the AWS documentation. So here you see this is the one user guide from AWS. I must say that this is the best resource on any AWS is you can find on AWS website. And here if you scroll down and go to the table of contents, you will see that it has everything about CloudFormation, including templates. It has a lot of examples, how to deploy different kinds of servers, for example web server, for example LAMP, and everything about template you can and everything about CloudFormation, and also about template you can find on the AWS website. And I would strongly suggest you to go through the documentation on AWS website, not only for CloudFormation, for any other service. As I say, that the best resource you can find is on the AWS website itself. Yeah. So that's all about CloudFormation Template Designer. And when you go through the documentation in detail, you will find a lot of templates which will make your life easier instead of writing the codes again. So you will be able to learn the template basics. You will be able to pick a template and deploy tags and everything. So before we end this video on the template designer, once again, it's always you can find the best resource on the AWS website. And that's how we can use CloudFormation Template Designer to visually design template. And also we can look into the existing templates, which might help us to copy and paste codes into our template instead of starting everything or writing everything from scratch, and it will make our life further easier. Thank you.